Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we're going to be talking about Alita Battle Angel. So I know a lot of people have been wanting me to do a follow-up video following the numbers about Alita Battle Angel. Is it indeed going to make enough money to garner a sequel? Or how close is it going to be? What are the numbers looking like right now? Now, I just want to say first off, as you should be knowing at this point, if you've been watching my videos the last couple of days, is that I am out of town. So this is actually being recorded on Saturday. So I have not gotten this past weekend's numbers in officially yet. However, we do have the estimates, and so far the estimates have pretty much been on par with what these films, especially this film specifically, is going to end up making as of this weekend, which means that we're going to be well over the $300 million mark. However, it does seem to indicate, at least at this point, that the $430 million that it needs to make in order to break even is going to be a lot more difficult than I had first thought, and that has a lot to do with the fact that it is not doing as well in its second weekend in China as I had hoped. There was a massive drop-off. Again, just the early estimates show that there's a massive drop-off in this second weekend, which indeed does have me worried. And when you come to the considerations that next weekend you have Captain Marvel coming out, and despite my feelings on Captain Marvel and many of y'all's feelings on Captain Marvel, there's no denying that it is going to be the #1 movie of next weekend. I know that a lot of y'all are trying to go see Alita Battle Angel next weekend to try and boost those numbers up in protest of Captain Marvel, and I'm totally on board with that. Again, I personally plan on using my ticket to give the money to Alita Battle Angel instead of actually giving it to Captain Marvel when I try and go see it. However, that is of course something that I can neither confirm nor deny. But let's talk about what are some good things and also what are some bad things that seem to be indicating how well Alita Battle Angel is going to do overall. And I just want to first start off by pointing out, because this is always my favorite part of the job, is pointing out when shills go ahead and own up to their mistakes, and also try and pretend like they were totally never in the wrong in the first place. So as you see here from comicbook.com, it says Alita Battle Angel's booming box office defies the original predictions. Yes, indeed. When everyone was writing this film off as a massive flop, all of a sudden after the first weekend, second weekend in China, when China finally became a factor, all of a sudden, all the people started saying, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is doing extremely well in China. This is doing so much better than we thought, and it's actually not doing as bad in the domestic market as we thought originally that it was going to do. And so that already, to me, is a win. The fact that you had people trying to write this movie off as one of the biggest box office bombs of the year, and now you no longer have people saying that. Now, they're not exactly saying that the film is going to be profitable. They're not exactly saying the film is going to break even, but it's a lot better than it was before. This film is definitely, by the end of its run, not going to be the massive box office bust that they originally thought this was going to be. It's either going to be a small loss, breaking even, or a small gain. It's not going to be a massive gain. I mean, that would have been amazing. That would have required a huge showing in China and also a huge showing in many other markets, but we're just really not seeing that, the numbers there. And I'm never going to lie to you guys. I'm never going to try and keep things from you. I'm never going to try and keep up the hope. When all the numbers and everything else, all the information, the actual facts themselves, the data that we have, doesn't seem to indicate that being the case. But anyway, this is still good nonetheless. So comicbook.com says Alita Battle Angel has shattered the low expectations for its performance at the box office, and the run is still ongoing. As of this writing, Alita Battle Angel has made $286 million at the worldwide box office on a $170 million budget. The film has shown impressive staying power, still scoring in the top 3 in the United States box office this week. As Exhibitor Relations points out, the film is now sitting on the bubble of questions surrounding its franchise potential, starting with the sequel. So we see here some tweets from Exhibitor Relations Company. Fox's Alita Battle Angel has now assembled $223 million internationally, and the biggest question, is that enough? Only Fox or Disney knows for sure, plus Cameron is now full tilt into Avatar sequels. This would be up to to move it forward, most likely. That's Robert Rodriguez, the director of the film, and to move it forward most likely, and he'll need to reel in the budget to make that happen, obviously. But Disney, and so this is a response, but Disney x Fox will now be entering the business of keeping Cameron happy. If Robert Rodriguez can deliver a sequel for $130 million on the next round, it might be worth it to them, especially if Alita does well on streaming, etc. And so Exhibitor says, agreed, it's worth pursuing as long as the budget is restrained and Disney figures out how to capitalize on the potential merchandise. Here, they're pretty good at that sort of thing. Okay, well, it depends on the franchise overall, because they haven't been really doing that well with the franchise and with the marketing, and rather with the merchandising for Star Wars recently, but we already know that that is going to be the case. However, what this does seem to indicate, though, is that the chances of a sequel are very high, and I think that that is definitely the biggest plus that we can take away from this. Is not only that you have the media shills finally stepping back, saying, oh man, you know what, we thought it was going to be a giant bust. Turns out it might not be a bust, as big of a bust as we thought, and actually the sequel is very likely going to happen. All that really need at this point is Robert Rodriguez Rodriguez to be on board, and guess what? Robert Rodriguez has already said that he is totally on board, and the only thing that he would be waiting on is making sure that James Cameron would be available as a producer, which, James Cameron seemed to have been pretty passionate about this project. Yes, we know he's all in Avatar land, unfortunately, and I really wish that he would just leave that behind and instead focus on Alita, because he's got a really good, really, really awesome, incredible property with Alita, and would much rather him see him make, 5 Alita films than 5 freaking Avatar films at this point. However, if he indeed at least still has that passion and is able to give his money, give his backing to an illegal sequel, I think that I think it's going to be a guaranteed, I think it's going to be pretty much a conclusion at this point that we are going to have an Alita sequel based on the numbers, based on everything that's being said here. The last points here making for that. Alita now finds itself alongside another anime-inspired blockbuster film, which also struggled with the question of whether there would be a franchise potential. The first, Pacific Rim. That film also scored well at the international box office, $309 million, and did well enough domestically, $101 million, but due to the film's nearly $200 million budget, it was deemed a risk for a full franchise rollout. It would take half a decade before Pacific Rim Uprising arrived in theaters. While the sequel did a lot less business stateside for $50 million, it still held strong internationally, $231 million, but it also cost more and was a much bigger loss, which is why you are never going to see another Pacific Rim, at least at this point, because they obviously don't really know how they're doing it, and I'm sure that our buddy, our good old friend, our buddy Finn himself had no real helping of this film overall. So this is one thing to look forward to, the fact that it is indeed doing well. It is, as it says, shattering expectations, because they had so lowballed this film, because they honestly had no faith in it. All of a sudden people saw it, loved it, found some faith in the movie, went out to see it multiple times, and I can say that everything that all of you guys who have been posting on my videos have been doing has been working, because obviously we would like to see these numbers up a little bit more. However, the fact that you have now articles coming out saying, oh, well, we thought this was going to be a flop and now it's not, and now there's talks of a potential sequel, I think is a good thing, regardless of what is being said. Even Skyboy Mendelsohn over at Forbes.com says that Alita Battle Angel earned another $1.721 million on its third Friday, setting the stage for a $6.7 million, which is only a 46% drop from last weekend, but last weekend was a major drop because there were new movies coming out weekend, and a $72 million 18-day total. It would make it... It should make it past the $80 million domestic, and the difference between $85 and $90 million may merely depend on how it fares against Captain Marvel. So that means that this film could get upwards of $90, potentially $100 million, but that would require a lot of people showing up this weekend and next weekend, or rather this past weekend, since now I'm currently in the present, but this is in the future. Oh my goodness, time works in mysterious ways. But basically, if Captain Marvel, which is going to be playing at a lot of the theaters, a lot of the screens going on this weekend, if Alita Battle Angel is playing, go see that movie, or pay to see that movie and go see something else. So that way the money at least goes to Alita Battle Angel, because if you really want this film to be able to really cement itself as being a film that is worthy of a franchise, get this film to as close to $100 million domestically as possible, continue to let the foreign market do what it's doing, and you're going to get this film a lot closer, a hell of a lot closer to that $430 million mark, which is, again, that break-even number. If it gets to $430 million, it breaks even, and anything more than that is profit. The closer that we get to that, the less of a loss it is. And also keep this in mind too, even if it is barely under, even if it is just a small bit underneath that break even total, the fact that we are, a lot of us right now are already planning on buying the Blu-rays, the 4Ks, the DVDs, the digital copies, etc. Because we already have that passion for it, we know that it's going to make up whatever it needs to make up in that sphere alone. So Alita is indeed, at the end of the day, going to end up making up that money in other revenue streams. But we got to get it as close as we possibly can to that number, if indeed we want that sequel to be more of a sure thing and not a possibility, may happen, may not happen. And the reason why we are in this position is because it is not doing as well in China. So it says it's going to earn around $24 million, which is a 62% drop from last weekend in China. Again, not nearly as good as we had expected. In its second week in China, bringing its cumulative to over 113 million, which means that the film is positioned to make around under 140 million in China, which is a good number. But if it was a little bit higher, if it was closer to that $200 million in China, at that point it would be guaranteed to be breaking even and also making a profit as well. Had it performed better in North America, that would be fine, but with China as a do-or-die territory, it needed better legs. It has crossed $300 million worldwide and should be over under $325 million by tomorrow, for what it's worth. So therefore, the worldwide total will be around will be over 325 million. At this current point, it is sitting at 289 million. So therefore, if it indeed does get to that point where it's at 325 or 330, it needs another $100 million in order to break even. Can it make that money? Sure, it can. Will it make that money? There's a lot of factors that it depends on. Again, China looks like it's not going to be the savior of this film that we thought. I mean, again, that $64 million opening weekend was a wonderful thing. You know, the $24 million that it's getting this weekend is great. The fact that it's going to make roughly $150 million in China is a good thing. But, you know, we need to start seeing some other countries showing up for it. France, it actually is doing pretty well in. So people in France keep on showing up and seeing this movie. South Korea, it's starting to lose theaters. Keep showing up. It's a lot of love there. UK, what the heck is going on in the UK right now? Only $10 million towards that film. Go see it. Go support it. Bring your friends. Bring your family. Show some love to this movie. Because if we want this film to have the possibility of getting or have a better chance of getting a sequel, if we want this movie to be financially viable, it needs to get a little bit more money than this. Because if we can get that foreign number to $300 million, if we can get the domestic number to $100 million, and we can get this movie close to $400 million, if not just a little bit more, it will all but guarantee the film will be in that break-even territory to the point where Blu-ray DVD sales after the fact and other revenue streams after the fact will be able to make up for any other money that it might need to make up in the long run. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me today. So what are y'all's thoughts about this? Seriously, I mean, I'm both hopeful and also a bit sad. Again, I was really hoping that the China numbers would be a little bit better than this. Maybe we'll see it, overperform in the third weekend in China. I don't know. Again, Captain Marvel is coming out at that point, and so therefore it is going to be a situation where Captain Marvel is likely going to at least make some money in China. But what I can say is this: if you are in a situation, if you are in a country, if you have a theater where you have two options, and the options are Alita Battle Angel or Captain Marvel, and you want to support a strong female character on International Women's Day during Women's Month and all this silly stuff, go see Alita Battle Angel. Seriously, go support this film instead. It is the better film, story-wise, character-wise, and at the end of the day, you will not leave the theater disappointed. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, smash the like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.